have Hello, my name is Gabriel Ndikon of the Confit Global Consulting. Today I will be presenting a new topic that I will make short in time, about an hour and 30 minutes if I'm not mistaken. Without further ado, bonjour, bonsoir, guten Tag, guten Morgen. Este Gabriel Ndikon. Buenos dias to my fellow listener, and then I would like to actually congratulate some of the folks who wrote me some time last week about some of my earlier presentation about time and time, moment of truth, and also time, the Holy Trinity against the Holy the Antichrist. Now, listeners, it is important to get both YouTube presentation on time so that you guys can have any feedback if you guys need one. The topic of this today presentation will be the exodus of religions. I'll try to cover a little bit religion and try to find the common ground of religion, the very highest standard of the supernal understanding and logic of theology, as well as logic of concept and ideology of creation and the universe. And I will give what is so-called the differentiations and what is so-called the differentiation of communality and common denominator in time. So this presentation today will be Exodus of Religions. Without further ado, bonjour, bonsoir, and bonjour tout le monde, travers le monde, listening this, my YouTube, today, tomorrow, and forever. Now, for peace, shalom and salam, and let's start this. Well, I just want to say, Exodus of religion, Exodus king against versus God. See, I think that still look good. I don't look like a monster, right? I got people looking at me and saying, "Oh, you look like a monster," something like that. I think so. Maybe when you look yourself, sometimes you don't see what's wrong with you. Yeah, so I don't think that something's wrong. So everything's all fine. It's about health, promoting, improving quality of health, protecting quality of health, restoring quality of health, and improving it. All right, so that's what everything's about. Health of people. Now, I got a problem. All right, I have folks, who just want me gone. I got a lady out there who just want me dead or something like that. Well, I don't know. It will be more quicker if they come and talk to me. I told them exactly what to do. All right, instead of them procrastinating over there and stuff like that. They want to, do so bad. They just come and talk to me. I'll tell them exactly what to do. So it will be more easier and quicker. And I have run today this morning to promote health, 11 miles, and my body have to recover, and that's the reason why I have a lot of stuff I need to get done. And I also did some presentation early today about some professional activities, and that's pretty much what was done. So now there are still folks who don't comprehend well the truth behind creations, and partition that and stratify that with the Bible and Trinity and all religion combined. I'm going to start by talking about the logic. I will make sure that I start the mathematical concept of time, existence, and eternal life before I can follow up with anything else. So bear with me. So like I explained last time, okay, you have time. and then you have eternal existence, and you have the universe. We are part of the universe because we are made of matter. We are a very tiny, less than a nanometer portions, even very less than that, maybe 10 to the power 100 minus 100 of a nanometer in the universe, in the space, in the universe. So we are part of it. And like I explained last time, the universe is a process in time within existence. And that existence that we're talking about, it is the eternal existence, which is what? Which is a wall of time from an infinite distant past to an infinite far future, integrated in an infinite time interval. That infinite time interval is what have existed long before everything, and that is where the people who founded this universe, the person who created everything, exist. And that infinite time interval is the spiritual realm. That spiritual realm is what control every material in this world. God that we pray, God that we go in churches, we go and pray every night, we open a book, he is not a human being. He is a spiritual being that is a superior being that can have a human being as his lower characteristic. When he wanted to humble himself, he become a human being. But even though that is a human being, he's still powerful. Okay, so that's the point. So now, because the universe is the process in time within existence, the existence do not depend in time, because existence can be anything that can be seen, felt, or heard. Life can be seen, felt, and life is a manifest of any living organism. I mean, production, growth, visualization of growth, aging, all that. That's a living organism. We are part of it. Okay, because we live, and because we live, we do exist in this dimensional plane. So those who live in a different dimensional plane do live in that dimensional plane, but do exist in our dimensional plane when the transitions from their plane to our plane, they exist. But now they do not depend in the same time, because we are not they are not in the same time space, so they have different referential. So the time will be completely different from our time, and sometimes if you use the spiritual realm and portal, it is easy for them to get from the spiritual realm and dimension to our materialistic world. Now you can continue to do like I'm driving into the spiritual realm. It will take you time. The second heaven is more, the heavens are closer than what we think in terms of the spiritual realm. The point is about transitioning to the spiritual realm and entering those portals, because it does have gates and barriers, boundary that cannot be accessed if God don't say so, depending on who you are. So now they can access our realm, our dimensional realm, so easier if they want. It will not take them too long. But in order for us with our technology to reach the realm, it will take about 185 trillions of billion miles to get into the second heaven. Okay, and then I don't think that we even have that kind of technology yet. It will take so long, because you need to have a machine that will be going more than the speed of light. And in our dimension, the speed of light is the most faster speed that can never been recorded. 3 times 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So that is the what we have seen. But in their dimension, they have something matter that are more faster than the speed of light. Okay, and they don't depend on time. They're even faster than time. They created time. They can bend time. They can enlarge time. They can reduce time. Whatever they want to do, because they created it. Okay, God created it. He can expand time. He can bend time. He can reduce time. All right, because he doesn't depend on time. So he does exist, but do not depend on time. That's the reason why existence is not in time, but time is within existence, because those who live as us, living organism, exist in this dimension and depend on time. Now, during that eternal journey, during that eternity that I defined earlier, there was, now that I'm introducing exodus of religions, commonality, common denominators, and the misunderstanding of logic, of that illogic that is also logical in that illogic. Now we have the primordial thought at the beginning of time, when your core spirit was formed at that universal plane, spiritual universal plane, in which you're supposed to reach. You're going to have to reach through many incarnation process, that final destination in which you will be pure and be able to reach the level in which it was determined at the beginning. Now, during that time, there is what is called the spiritual DNA, the spiritual molecule, the genome, the spiritual genome code, as well as the genetic, because you also have what is called the gene and inheritance, as well as gene variation in time, and inheritance, gene inheritance and gene variation in time. That's true. And that DNA molecules, spiritual DNA molecules, is where your present DNA, physical DNA, derive from, and you have many of them based on many incarnation that was already predetermined that you're going to go through. So you have that soul that you have in you derive from that main spiritual structure of you in space, in your spiritual realm. Now, that DNA that derive have a certain characteristic that link it to the DNA of your body, your physical body. That spiritual genome have a characteristic that lead that to your human genome. It means at a certain point, certain people, all of us, we are all connected in a spiritual world. It means that if you need to have a genome of your actual father or your parent, it means somehow in time you have similar characteristic, or you have been in the past somehow together in a far distant past, and in this delving present or any far or future, you guys come again together in a different form, incarnation form. So that's actually the way it functions. You have that differentiations of spiritual molecules that define your actual humanistic genome code and structure and genetic structure. And if you look your DNA, your spiritual DNA and genome code, it is stratified in a certain way that you have every segment of your journey of incarnations. And when you take that segment, specific segment, that you can link it to your present genome code. And that spiritual DNA code is made out of G and D code, spiritual code. That are identifier of the person who created us. It is called, they call it the G and D particles. Those are spiritual particles. When you go farther and farther in higher science and sacred mathematics and sacred engineering and spiritual technology, you're gonna lead that into the existence of a higher power, an entity that is bigger, because that is where that G and D particle come from. And you can see the name of God was not made by mistake, because in the middle you have what is called Omega, making God. See, the God particle that live within you. So you have it within you. And that's what Jesus Christ said, the temple of your body is a holy temple. He knew what he meant when he said that. He knew what he meant. So you have that. If you have all the power within you, that you make a decision, and the best decision you make, you'll be supported by the heavens, because they give you the choice of making a decision. Now, where do Hinduism come in place and Buddhism come in place? I start with them. In the process of incarnations and reincarnation, in that eternal journey to reach perfection, you will have residual. Like you live in this present life right now, there are many sins that every single one of us is committing. We are not using the principle and standard and law put in place by God, which is also Jesus Christ, because we live now after him, AD. Those who lived before him, they were using the principle, standard and law put in place by God. Now, those after him use his principle, standard and law. Now, which is also similar to the one before, but application a little bit different, but it's the same thing based on error and time. Now you have your residual, that's how they call it, the previous sin from your previous incarnation before you transmigrate into this new life, that follow you. Because what happens is, when you live in that life, you pretty much have that deny of following a complete life as designed by God, like we're doing today, making those mismatch. So when you die there, and then your soul that you have in this present time will go to either hell or heaven. Well, it is a deterministic or on how well you have done. That's what it is. That's where Christianity comes in place. Now, the transition of your residual, of your karma, because the karma are the leftover sins that you have done without following God, principle, standard, and law. Now I'm talking about this present time. God, principle, standard, and law, or Jesus Christ, principle, standard, and law, which are the same, or the cosmic law that are made, that are controlled by the Holy Spirit, the universal intelligence, the cosmic intelligence, which is still under the ruling of the Holy Trinity. Now, as a Hindu or Buddhist, you transitioned with your karma, and when you come in this present life, what God does, God take now your previous residual that you have, that was left over, because everything is about balance. I told you that last time. Balance. Everything must be equal. Whatever happened, everything will be compensated. That's the way he programmed it. And pretty much he doesn't do anything, he just control it, just to make sure everything go well. Like, because what does, the Holy Spirit is what does all the work, because it is already programmed. Okay, everything is programmed. It is called spiritual technology. It's very high, very high level of knowledge, a very high level of technology. So now you have that it transition with you. So when it transition, what God does, depending on how many previous lifetime you had, everything will transition, and he will always go with the most recent transition, because the most recent transition, transmigration or previous life, are the one who have the exact residual, because everything transition one another. So he take that, he use it to write down your actual lifetime before you come in. So that's how it goes. So your lifetime is written, what you're going to have based on his agenda about your life, based on the gift that you have, based on the gift that you have from the primordial thought. If you are a singer, that's how your life will be, because he wants you to use that gift to inspire other people in order to glorify him. If you are a mathematician, that's what you're gonna do. If you are whatever gift you have, a dancer, that's what you're gonna do. If you are a leader, that's what you're gonna do. So that is written. It is written. He took that. It's already programmed. Everything's done by the Holy Spirit, just control. Now, depending on how your spiritual genome were made, some people depend on the stars. Now the star gonna influence your birth, and that's where all your gifts are putting into. God put that over there spiritually. The gift for your well-being, for your health, for your financial stability, everything, your wife, your kid, everything is there. You go into the star. Certain people, depending on the primordial force, the way they were made, they don't depend 90% on the star. They depend directly into the heaven. So those kind of people have a very complicated and difficult life, because their life is controlled pretty much by both, by the heavens. But people who are made completely, that the power were giving into the star and controlled by God, their life is pretty much set. It means if in that personal present life, it was mean that they have to compensate, because it's a law of balance. They will be about there, they will be about there. There's nothing they can do. If they can be, they'll be rich, they'll be rich. If you say they'll be poor, they'll be poor. That's how it goes. And then when everything is balanced, you move up into the next one, and it is written. So your present life is made completely from your previous life. Your previous life, your present circumstances, and the situations. Not only you are in your present life, you deal with your previous karma, but you also deal with present circumstances and situations. And that's where we get embedded in problems, and we created more karmic debt. So now the Buddhists and Hindu, they believe that you have to do good. because they understand that law. But they put aside God. They believe that you have the power within, and they are not wrong. If you have watched the movie of Moses yesterday, or whatever, Moses said to God, you made me leave my family. You made me leave my children. God said to him, I didn't. You did. Why God said that to him? God said that to him to say, I have given you the power to choose. And I will support you to what I believe is right. You have a drive the way you were programmed. You can avoid it. You made that choice because you have that drive, that spiritual drive that leads you into do something. And that was your call. But you made that choice. So the Buddhists are saying, or the Hindu are saying, you have the power within you. And they're not wrong. You have the power within you. If you believe in you, you should be able to solve all your problems. And they're not wrong. That's the way God made us. That's actually the way God wants us to function. Now, the point is that when they do all the prayer, they also talk about the heavens. Because they know heaven exists. They just don't believe in that, in the high power God. But they think in mind, but they don't believe in that. They pray in the law of the universal law of balance in terms of building, praying for peace, making sure that you do good, reviving some of the inner ability of prayer, balancing in the life into permanent prayer, and also do good around. They understand the law of karma and how to balance that karma by doing good. You're going to see some of them, the Japanese, the Chinese, sometimes they go and they're always very simple. They wear things simple. Sometimes you see them go and do stuff because they understood what happened in the previous life, and they start compensating it now. Sometimes you see they go and do volunteering work in hospitals. Sometimes they have to guide people that come in their own companies. You know, like a Japanese guy, he was the owner of a very big company, and there were like internship people came in his company. He was the one guiding them. And one of the interns say, man, I hope I meet the owner of this company. He was actually talking to the owner without knowing. You see, so and then he laughed. He laughed. He just said, oh well, maybe one day. You were actually talking to him, but he didn't know that. That's how Embo. So they do stuff like that. So sometimes they give money and they have to do something. Sometimes they have to go in a restaurants and line up like everybody else. The Chinese president did it recently. So they got to sit down with poor people and eat. They do stuff like that because they understand that you compensate. And the law of compensation is very important. That's what the Hindu do. That's what the Buddhists do. Now, the only thing they don't put in place is the acknowledgement of the higher power. I don't condemn them for that. As long as they can do good using the universal law and cosmic law accordingly as designed by God, they're good. Some of them will die when they transition we're all gonna die. When some of them die, when they transition into the spiritual realm, they will be told the truth. They will be told, they'll be converted into Christianity and move on. It's the only option for the soul to move on into hell or heaven. If the soul have to move into heaven, they're going to have to be converted to Christianity there, believing in Jesus Christ and God and the Holy. That's it. There's no other option. You don't want to know about that, you'll be directed to hell. End of story. Okay, so that's pretty much the way it is. Now, for Judaism and Islam, it is God. It is God. They believe in God, the higher power, the one who created everything, the God of peace and the God of rage, and the God who is very pure. Now, they have their differences, but it's because of the similarity that make them not too much friendly, because they have similar approach of stuff. You know, if you look the Old Testament, in which Judaism still use, it is about the Ten Commandments, pretty much the universal laws, because God derived the Ten Commandments from the 7 universal laws. There are 7 universal laws, and he derived the 10 commandments from it. Okay, those are law, those are people who depend on God directly. Right there, 7 universal law. Those are people, the people that I was talking about, that do not depend on stars. When God made that choice, that's the way it goes. And most of the ancestors, it is a discovery I'm saying today, most of the ancestors of the Jew, most of them were beyond us. They were people who didn't depend on stars. They depend directly on the heavens. And that's why their life was very complicated, because when you depend on the heavens, your life is not straight. Your life is not set up. Nobody can preview your life. Your life things happen like that, and they go through a lot of suffering, because it's God who direct their life, who give their life. Nobody can read what they will become, what they will not become. They can only generalize, you know. But every single time, they're always going to say it will be great, because God will make sure that it happened that way. They will go through a lot of suffering and process, because that's the way it goes. So most of the ancestors, most of them, all of, I believe even all of them were all beyond us. You know, from Adam to Noah to all down to Abraham to now. You know, so that's the reason why they never change into the New Testament. They still follow that's 10 commandment. Now, when you look the pillars of the Quran, there's not really a big difference. It is 5. And when you look the 10 commandment, there's similarities. Now, there's some moderations. If somebody attacked you, you have to respond right away. Now, in the moderation of the futuristic world, somebody in between them have to try to have peace. It means if somebody attack you, you cannot observe, and then you don't attack back. That build peace. You see, I think that the Israelites are doing that at this moment, based on the certain attack that keep going on. They, you know, because they want to go to a process of peace, a time of peace. They want to go with that. So that's what's happening. So there they depend on God. Okay. So now, if a Jew die, he go to the heavens, he will be introduced to Jesus Christ. If a Muslim die, he go to the heavens, he will be introduced into Jesus Christ. There's no options. He is part of the Trinity, and everyone who believes in God have to go through him. That's his new heavens. We now, the people who were born after in the AD, we all have to go into the third heaven if we qualify to get there. That was the new heaven for the generation after Jesus Christ. So after year 47, when he died, everybody after that, Jesus Christ. From that moment to after, you know, that's the reason why he said to those two people who died along with him, I can promise you right now that you'll be with me, because that's exactly what he meant. He didn't say that you're gonna go to the bosom of Abraham. No, because you will be with me, because that was the new promise, and it come with the price. Now, in that process of transitioning the karma, when you are in your karma, in your process, you are in your new life. You, in a viewpoint of Christians or Christianity, if you live within the standard, principle, and law of Jesus Christ put in place as a Christian, you should not have any problem. Your life will be balanced accordingly. You will do less sin. You will be making less sins, and then you will be paying back those karmic debt like Jesus Christ did. The story of Jesus Christ was just an example of how our life have to be. If you live a life like him, you balance all your karmic debt. You onboard yourself, you serve other people, you prioritize other people's problems, you have love for other people, you have compassion for other people, you care about the people. If you do that, you balance all your karmic debt and you build what is called a Dharma, positive package that can transition to your next life, and your next life will be better. That's the reason why he said, everyone who's gonna believe in me will have eternal life. It's because your life will always be good and good and good and good, as long as you follow those laws in any of your incarnations. And that's the thing that people are missing. In any of your incarnations. And people are going to say, do I going to look the same? Well, no, you're not going to look the same. You might come out a male in this incarnation, the next one is a female, and then all the way down the way it goes. But you're still going to be the same person because your spiritual structure is the same. But your spiritual structure just have different spiritual genome that define every single human genome of every single time that you're going to appear. So that's exactly what's happening. So now when you follow Jesus Christ through that karma, you're going to do less sins. You follow his path, you do good, you serve people well, you build compassion, you build love, you have forgiveness, and you don't have to worry about that. You'll be fixing your karmic debt, you'll be addressing your situation very well, and the circumstances in which you are very well, and going forward you'll build a more better dharma, eradicate all your karma, and then if you leave this earth, your soul gonna go to heaven, that's for sure. And then the continuity of your spiritual journey will be better because your folder gonna come with positive thing. You have less sins, and then you're gonna start better transmigration life in your next one. And that's all. And that's why he said you have eternal life if you follow me, because your life will build up well every single time into that goal. How people are going to ask, how do you get them? No, it is inspired. God created people the way they are. He feed them for information for them to do exactly what they have to do. Okay, so you have a graph or something, you do it. So that's what I say to people. Always do good. All those religions, they are all under the same scope of creations, but they just don't know it. They think there's a difference. There's no difference. They just have portion of it, portion of it, portion of it. When you put them all together, they all explain everything. So now you have forgiveness. Forgiveness is a bigger burden. When you forgive, it is a burden that you carry. An example, if you give 1,000 to a person and the person don't pay back, and you forgive that person, what happened? It means that you just lost $1,000. Right? Very simple. So forgiveness is a burden that you carry. It's a responsibility that you put on your shoulder. It's not easy. And that's the reason why Jesus Christ said at the end, everything was predetermined, calculated at 1000%. At the end, he said, forgive them, Father, forgive them. They know not what they're doing. He said at the end, because he carried the responsibility of the sins. It was necessary for him to say that at the end. And he said it is finished, because that's exactly what he's supposed to say. Everything that he did was just not saying. It makes sense in reasoning. You carry the sins of other people. It's the burden. You feel that pain. But when forgiveness happens, it means you are accepting to carry it. That's the reason why he have to say that. It was a must, actually. And that's why you have to forgive in order for it to be forgiving. If you're there, you don't want to forgive and expect God to forgive you, it's a big mistake that you're making. He will not forgive you. I mean, you have to forgive others in order for you to be forgiving, to be certain. Don't be there and say, well, I forgive, I don't forgive, but God, when people are saying your sin are wiped out, your sin are not actually wiped out. Your sin are forgotten, but God is accepting to forgive your sin by putting aside, not applying it against you. That's what he's doing. He's not wiping that out. He is putting that aside, not against you anymore. That's what he's doing. But it's still there. So when people are saying my sin is, no, it's not. Let me tell you why. Because when you transition into the heavens, you start talking even to an angel or to God or Jesus Christ. They will remind you or about everything that you have done wrong. And they will even show you the pictures. So why do they do that? Is because your sin were put aside not to come against you anymore. That's why they say wipe out or erase. That's what it means. It's like a metaphoric explanation of it. Certain people are saying, oh, when you believe in it, it's erase and wipe out. No, they're not. They're there. They're like sponge. Okay, you know what sponge mean, right? They pretty much sponge. So they put it aside, not against you anymore, but it can come out at any moment to be used against you if you don't change the way. And that's why when you go to the heaven, when they judge you, God don't judge you based on nothing. Come on, guys. He don't judge you based on nothing. He judge you based on something. You cannot judge somebody based on nothing. It doesn't make sense. You have to have those stuff in order to be judged. You don't go to heaven because God don't like your face. So when you come, people come and say, you don't go, he's forgiving, he's wiped out. He's not wiped out. Otherwise, certain people don't go to heaven. Certain people don't go. It is used to balance everything at the end. It is put aside not to be used against you. That's why it's called wipe out and erase. Now, when I spoke about the power that was transferred to Lucifer during the Adam and Eve period, let me give you an example. If you work in a company and the owner of the company said to everyone, these are the standards, principles, and policies I would like everyone to follow. Alright? And every single time one or two employees violate those clauses, and he have to come and ask them, why are you violating those clauses? And they say, well, it's because John Joe say us that's not the way operate. If you are that owner of that company, what you gonna do? Very obvious. You're gonna say to them again, follow my standard, principle, and policies, because I own this company. Well, again, they violate that, and you ask them, they say, Joe told us that's not the way it's supposed to be. What you gonna do as the owner of the company? You're gonna say to them, you are fired, and you go and listen to your master, the owner of that company, to give you a job. That's exactly what you're gonna do. You're gonna listen to that John Joe to give you a job, and you're gonna follow his policy, standard, and principles and laws of his company. That's what you're gonna do. It is the same thing God did. He said to Adam and Eve, you're fired from my garden. You go and follow the advice of your new master, as you cannot listen to me as your master. That's what he did. So we as people, Adam and Eve, gave the authority into Satan at that moment. So Satan have authority to do whatever he wanted to do. That's the reason why there was violence around the world. Now, Satan is not in hell. His house by default is hell. Yes, that's true. But his spirit is all over the place in the entire universe with all these demons. What he does as a main job, he monitor all the work and activity of God, and his job is to make sure that it doesn't work. He sees it. He want to make sure that the spiritual, because everything that happened in this earth happened first in the spiritual realm. So what he does, he want to make sure that it does not happen. When God sent everyone in this earth, is for everyone to have a happy life. In the spiritual realm, it is made that you should have money in your life. When God look your spiritual bank account or your spiritual health, is supposed to be healthy. You're supposed to have this. And when God look, you're supposed to have at that moment wife and kids. But why is not transitioning accordingly? So when the angel and all the spiritual being are looking, they look the spiritual world, he have that. But they look at you, they don't see that. That's exactly what Lucifer does. He interfere that work. That's what he does. The reason why he's moving around is because God gave him the let go to prove himself, to see how far he can go. A challenge every single human being. But You as a human being, you have to prove that you have the faculty within you. See, remember the movie of Moses? God is not in the business of coming and helping you completely. Otherwise, Lucifer gonna say to you, you helping them? Ha ha ha, you helping them? That's exactly what he's gonna say. You are helping them. He don't want to do that, because he's gonna humiliate him that what he created is not really sufficient, like he said. So what he did, he reduced the water. He reduced the water, and he knew that Moses had the brain. When he threw that sword inside, and he was able to see the soul, so he reduced the water so that they can walk in that on that water without grounding. But he didn't say to him, I reduced the water. So by faith, you have to do it. You have to believe on your known. You go in that water. If you ground, you ground. And that's what they did. And they went through that. And I believe in that story because I know that's true. That's how God functions. He reduced the water. He brought the water down to a certain level, so that people can cross. And what happened when they crossed? He brought the water back so that the Egyptian cannot go through. It's very simple. So you have to believe in yourself. You will believe in yourself and have faith to go through, and he will help you. Because there's problems. He cannot come and help us completely unless we do our effort ourselves. Unless it is a battle that he know that we cannot win it by our own. There's a situation like that. Therefore, he will take charge. He will say to you, I take charge of this. There are people who have situations like that. I'll take charge of it. But you have to do your best, your effort, before it is done. You have to make sure that he is the one who have to tell you, you have done enough. Now it is my time. But don't sit there and say, I can't do nothing. I can't do nothing. I'm scared. I can't do nothing. He gonna let you like that until you do something. It is the same God. It is the same God. He do something. And then when you reach a level in which you even surprised, he said to you, now you have done your best. Now it's my time. And you're surprised. Because what you have done without knowing, you have proven to Lucifer that you can do it. And at a certain point, Lucifer himself understands that in this level, it's not your battle anymore. Somebody else should come and help you. Or either, even if he doesn't know that, he cannot bring you down. Every time that he tries to bring you down, you come back up. Every time he tries to bring you down, he come back up. Now he starts checking his head saying, I know what's up, yeah. Somebody's there helping this man. So he's not in hell like people think. That's his house by default. But he's outside, he's over the place, mixing up God's work. And mixing you as well. Mixing all of us as well. The soul, because our soul is connected into the spiritual realm. He have access to our soul, like God have access. So he talked to our soul as well, and God talked to our soul as well. The only thing that distinguish both of them is good and the bad. Now, people are gonna say, back then God used to say, do this thing to kill people too. So how do you know that is God's voice or that's not Satan's voice? Well, remember, you live today within the principle, standard, and law of Jesus Christ as a Christian. So you can come and tell me that how do you know that's Jesus? Everything that is bad, that's not Jesus Christ. End of the story. I can understand a Jew or a Muslim, but not you. You know, not you. Because they operate under the Ten Commandment and the five pillar, which is pretty much similar. So, but not you. But in a higher extent, even them, they should know that God is a God of love. So if He's a God of love, it means if you love Him, you should also love one another, because His love is not only singularized to you, is all over the place to everyone. So if you love Him, you should be able to love your neighbor, and that's what Jesus Christ said: love your neighbor. So you love people, pretty much. All right, that's what it is. So the responsibility that He carried when He died, He said, forgive them. It is a load. It is a responsibility. So when you forgive people, you take responsibility, and you take that weight on your shoulder. You gave a person the money, 1 million, he didn't pay back, you forgave them, you stay like that. It is 1 million that you're going to have to take out of your pocket to compensate that. That's the same thing He did. He died on the cross for our sin, and then now when you go into the process of salvation as a Christian, process of salvation, you become a like Christ. Through the process of salvation, it means that you will live a life like Him, try to. And then when you reach that, you'll be righteous, because His account through the forgiveness will come into your account to fill it up, to complete it. That's what it is. Because He took responsibility to that transmigrations. So that's what it is about the righteous. When that account He have, that He talk, come and complete your account. Because we always going to be short in that level, because of our imperfections. Now when you're now righteous with His account, after the salvation process, the sanctification process, you are now justified by God as righteous, and then you are saved and glorified. That's how the process is. But you have to be righteous, because His account that He talk as responsibility, God will take some of His righteousness that He have and put it in yours. So you can be complete and find righteous in His eyes, and then justify in His eyes as righteous, and then now save, and then glorify now. So that's how that process works. Now, Lucifer took the power from Adam, because Adam decided to choose him as his master. Adam and Eve decided to choose him as their masters. Now, God was there still with them, because that's His creation. He put other plans. Exactly. So through the tree, He sent Jesus Christ to die into the tree. Dying into the tree defeated Lucifer. Lucifer proposed Jesus Christ a kingdom on earth. Where? In the middle of Jerusalem. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? He proposed Jesus, look downtown of Jerusalem. That's where your kingdom will be. So He pictured a kingdom, because He have that power, in where Jesus Christ will be the king, and people gonna, He will be sitting in the chair. They're gonna be wiping His feet, all this stuff. It was not an error. God made that happen because He wanted to show to people that that's exactly what's going to happen at the end. He will be sitting in that throne there in the kingdom. And Jesus Christ rejected it because Jesus Christ knew what was proposed to him in the heavens during his time in the desert. It will be the similar thing, but not through Lucifer. The reason why it's happening, why? Because now that he died, he defeated him there in all the temptations. He took that power away from Lucifer. Now what Lucifer don't have any more authority on you. Now he have to go into God to ask in order for him to do something on you. If Lucifer want you to have something bad, well, he always gonna want you to have something bad. Trust me, nothing good comes from, he want you to be mixed up, So now, when he go to God and say, every time he go to God, it's always gonna be something bad. It will not be something good. Trust me. So now, when he go and do that, God will give him permission before it happen, or God will deny. There's only those two options. And when God gives him permission, what God does, God will monitor, will accept based on the capability you have to take it. He will not let Lucifer do something on you that he knows you will not be able to handle. That's how it goes. And that's the reason why Jesus Christ came in place, for that. Because the battle is spiritual. People don't get it. It's not something, he had the power before, he have all that. Like when Jesus Christ came back and then God did what he did, he ended up in the spiritual realm in the skull and say, hey, I told you that I'll get back to you about what happened in Eden, and I just got back to you. Now you have to come to me now to do whatever you're doing here. And he have to follow those principles in the law because they are all eternal. That's the way it is. There are people that there, when you say something, you stick on it. You cannot change it because it is programmed by the Holy Spirit. If you don't function according to how God designed it in the beginning, everything you will do will not work. And that's why God himself God can modify what he did, but he doesn't want to do it because he's a sanctified God, he's a divine being. You have to command, act by example. He doesn't have to do that, but you have to do it. So when Lucifer heard that, he have to do that. Because if you don't do that, he's going to try to make some commandment. It doesn't going to work because the Holy Spirit don't going to follow that. Don't going to let him do that. Because he violated some of the laws. So you have to accept it and say, all right, now, and else, all right, you go forward. You go and ask, I want that guy. The guy don't want to succeed here. The spiritual blessing he have will not transition into this materialistic world in which I live and comment. And God will say to him, no problem, go ahead. And God will give him a time to manifest all his tyranny on you. But if you stay tenacious, you resist and you stay still, you have endurance, you will be victory, you'll be a victor at the end. Like the Moses and all that story, the way he went, you'll be victor at the end. Because God can do what? Moses have all of that. He turned the mess he had into a message. How did he do that? Well, he was a slave. He ended up in a palace as one of the prince, and then suddenly he killed two guards because they heard that he was a Jew, and then like, what the heck, a Jew, a slave, what? So he killed them, and then that was a mess completely, and then they discovered that, and then what happened from that mess? God have to put him into the detour, into a form of a disaster. In one night, from living in a palace to not even have a place he have to put his head in the desert. See, and then suddenly he become a victim. You know, he can return there into a certain time. And then suddenly he have to acknowledge his situations. And when you acknowledge your situation, what happened? You face the truth. He was on trial by God to prove himself. And that mess that he went through got transformed to a message. I believe in the true God. Free my people. Well, why are you going to pay the consequences? As a victim, he became a victor by freeing his people. Do you hear what I'm saying here? His day too, his disaster became his destiny. Now he have the 10th commandment and they have to follow a path back into where they came from. And his trial start becoming a triumph. Who can only do that is God. So people out there who believe that because somebody's doing to a 2-year problems, 3-year problems, or 4-year problems, you start, mauling like a freaking sheep or something like that. You start doing stuff like, crying and sniffing and stuff. If you pray to the same God, you think that it's not listening to you? You think that, He's going to say to you, what happened to Jesus Christ? What happened to Moses? What happened to Joseph? You don't going to answer none of those questions. Do you know, but from the time that God spoke to Abraham, to the time that he even got Isaac, 70 years. 70 years. Somebody walk out for the Jew right there. 70 years. It means that you stay like that, somebody give you a promise. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. That's 360 days, please. 4 years, 5, 6, 10. 10 times 7 before you have an answer. You have people here, 1 year they start crying, 2 years is over, 3 years God forgot them. What is wrong with you? You don't know God. You don't know how He functions. You think that he's a common Joe that live in the street out there, and then things gonna happen. You understand how the universe was built with all this complexity and challenges? Are very complex, very tough, and situations. When you are and walk with God, you have to go for a long run. Put in your head infinity. Because when you put in your head infinity, you will have no problem. I mean, just if you have problem, just say it will stay there for infinity. Because when you put that infinity, you have no problems. It depends on Him. End of story. If you start counting days and seconds, stress gonna kill you. You're in trouble, man. Stress gonna kill you. Because it doesn't operate like we want to operate. He walks with signs. He can show up in front of you like a beggars. He can come in front of you like a freaking kids. He can come in front of you like a short man that you can even push aside. By the time you know, you cannot even move your foot forward. Your journey is over. You know? So that's what it is. And it just takes people with certain understanding that when you already have accomplished certain thing, at certain point, you don't see that's the kind of level God have attained. He have attained the highest of highest power and knowledge. That at a certain point, all of those things that we, because now the point, if you want to understand God, you know in your Bible that it is said, or any other book, that we were created in His image. So that is true, that's for sure. Now, if you look, it means we reason. We have this physical body, we have a spiritual body, we have an emotion. God have emotion as well. Trust me, He does. He have a physical body as well. Indeed, by default, but he's a spiritual being. But now, his emotion is well controlled because he reached a high level of intelligence. He have a high level of intelligence. He know how to control it. And he know how to balance it. So when you reach a certain level, when you have attained everything, you have done everything, you have seen everything beginning and end, your level of comprehension is infinite. Level of understanding, infinite. You don't see life anymore like everybody sees because you have it all. So you can decide to be an humble person because that's the most best thing you want to, that will make you happy. Trust me. As to any rich person here, most of the time they like to dress simply. Trust me. You see them, sometimes you don't even recognize it's them. Put us, simple jeans and then that's it. Many of the rich people you find out here. Sometimes a very, short pant and long sleeve shirt or short sleeve shirt, and that's it. They move on, going to higher places. So that's the same thing. Pretty much God is doing. He like to live that kind of life because he have all this stuff and those small stuff is what make him more happy. Small stuff. Let's chat, let talk, let a pure soul. He want to be around soul that are pure. It make him happy because he can see the work that you have done. That's good. That is convinced that at least I have. If one can be good, it means it was not an error. So he would prefer, if you see a person on the street, based on the algorithm that was put in place, based on his karmic debt and present life, the way it was written, he have to wait for his time. If that person have a good soul, you will see the presence of God around that person than ever. And the big palace in which people are looking, that God is not there. He's not there with that person on the street, and consoling that person until the time comes for him to reach the balance after he pay all his debt accordingly. That God will keep him alive to reach that moment. There is a standard and principle that are put in place. So it keep you alive, and then you reach your normal time. Like he said, Lucifer, it is not done. I've given you time. Now I can move on. And trust me, Lucifer have access to your soul. You have an enemy. Your enemy is vicious. Your enemy is a criminal. Your enemy is there to destroy you. Everything that happened in the physical world happened in the spiritual world. There's nothing that happened here that did not happen over there. Somebody with a metaphysical eyes can see what happened in the spiritual world and know exactly what's going on in your life. They don't even have to know you physically, They just look and they know. They even know what will happen. Because the real battle is there. And then we are the victim because we don't understand it. Most of us don't want to understand it. We just see all the physical. Okay, the physical is what it is. If we do this, that's what work. But the spiritual is what's manifesting into that physical to make us act the way we're acting. We don't know that. That's why you have to do your prayer. You got to pray, and then you got to make sure that you understand who you are. With respect to the creator, the person who created everything. There's somebody gonna say to me, how do you know for certain that a person like that exists? Well, how do I know? Because if you can roll back the time in which the universe is expanding right now in time, you roll back the time, you reverse the time in space, it will go back to a tiny little particle from the beginning of that process. And if you can tell me where that particle come from, maybe you are the God. Alright? If you cannot tell me, maybe there's somebody place it there. It is it goes. And then now, if you can tell me that the universe is not a process in time within existence, within eternal existence, you give me a different explanation or definition of it. If the universe is a process in time within that eternal existence, what is that eternal existence? Because you define all your scientific point of view based on that eternal and infinite time space. What is it? If there is matter, space, and time, numbers, names, it means there is something that is beyond time. In this earth, time is everything. We cannot overpass time. But if there is something that is bigger than time, that can bend time, that can spend time, that can reduce time, you mean that thing is either what created that time or existed before the time. That's what it is. And also another joke is that if you can prove to me that you knew that you were coming on earth and you have a celebration party in the other side, you can show us the pictures. That's another good thing. Everybody will be forced to know that the guy have a party before he was coming into earth. You show it to us. Maybe that will be something that people are going to want to learn. It will save a lot of anxiety and stress. you know. I am more poise, and I wanted to say this, that people must know, and I always say it, that if you have a life, an empty life, that an empty life will lead you into a tragic end. And an empty life is made because people have lost hope. People have lost hope because they have lost a purpose in their life. People have lost a purpose in their life is because life don't have any meaning for them anymore. Their life don't have any meaning anymore because there's God lacking into their life. Someone said someday that if you can count and do not put God into your counting, it means you don't know how to count. Was that, was that right or wrong? I think it's right. Because you cannot start counting and saying that 2. Before you say 2, it means that there's something that is before 2. You cannot reach 2 without saying 1. Because 1 plus 1 is what gave you 2 in base 10. Now, their life have no meaning is because they rejected God out of their life. So I'm doing that. I did the reversal of the process. Because when your life is empty, people never answer the question, what make my life empty? What is going on? I gave into drugs, into cigarettes and smoke and all of this stuff, and sex and all this stuff. It is because I lost hope somewhere. And that hope got lost because of a lack of purpose. And lack of purpose because of a lack of meaning in your life. What your life mean? Who are you? What was the reason of you here? What are the characteristics you have within you that must be used to help people and glorify the person who created you? And that meaning occur because there's a lack of the acknowledgement of the true God, the high power, the high intelligence, the power of all powers. That's what it is. So it is essential for folks to know that it is not about the money. It is not about a person is sad to be alone. There's nothing like that. You are alone because you want to be alone. And you create the problem from nowhere. I am alone. I am alone. I am going now to find some friends. Well, you're going to be finding friends, and you're going to be even finding serpents to come and live with you so they can bite you when you're sleeping. That's the problems. Some people out there, because they're alone, they start looking for friendship and try to force relationship, and they always end up badly. I never loved you in the first place. Well, for somebody who have 2 eyes, it was very simple to see that in the beginning. Because it was somebody forced something. It is very, very simple. We have to be able to be humble. We have to love each other. This world that we see is not simple. Those who have the money, who have a better life, it is the blessing because it is the way the life was designed based on the previous karmic life, residuals in previous life. and they are transmigrated into this life with that package. It is an ability. Even those who are born in royal places, wealthy family, they have to understand and acknowledge that they have a responsibility and blessing, and they have to use it in their advantage so that it does not disturb their eternal purpose for the next existence, if there's any. Because you don't know where you're going to end up. It is very rare that a same person get born to the same place he was before. It happened, but it's rare. But most of the time, it depends on the good you have done. If you have done too good, that your next folder is too good, God can decide to send you back to the same place, different form. Because you have done good. It happened. But if you have not done good into your present existence, know that the law of balance will come after you. I don't know where it's going to end up. You might end up in Ethiopia. You might end up in Somalia. You might end up in Afghanistan. You might end up in you know, places where you have never dreamed of being. So do good. That's what you have to do. The law of balance is there, man. You grab out there, you do something stupid, get a ticket, you got paid. It's a law of balance. It's the way it is. You go somewhere, Walmart, you purchase items, you got to pay it. It's a law of balance. Everything is balanced. Everything is balanced. There's nothing here that you say, it is me. No. You got to pay. You got to exchange. You pay. It's balanced. Everything is balanced. So that's why we have to work and love each other and stop doing revenge. Revenge is not solution. Nothing. Adjudications, treating people through assumptions are not solutions. You let everybody use their potentials according to how they were created. And so far, no man know how the other person was created. We were all created differently. And those differences are what are put in place in order for us to find common ground and do good. Help others. Work together for a common purpose to glorify the divine being. And people are listening to me today. They have to know. It doesn't matter what your name is today. It doesn't matter how many money you have. It doesn't matter. It is God who made that happen for you. But you might be lucky into this specific journey. But you might not be lucky into your next one. Depending on how you're going to live this life. This specific journey. It's about law balance. If you can minimize your karmas, do less sins, choose a religion, either Christianity, Buddhism, or Judaism, or whatever. Follow God's principles, standard laws. If you are with the God below, the prince of darkness, you gotta know that you'll be disappointed at the end. You're gonna have some momentum, but it will not last for long. He will not last for long. He doesn't have all the power. He is the prince of the reality of this earth, but he does not have the final power. We are being put in trial, and if we resist, if we stay tenacious, we can take it. Ambrosini, unbroken, he said, if you can take it, you can make it. He was not wrong. That is a principle that God wants men to look into. If you can take it, you can make it. God can come in front of you and say that to you, you're going to be laughing. That is how God was telling that to me. Pretty much that's why you have in his mind for all of us. Take suffering. If you can take suffering, you can beat Lucifer. Because suffering is like his soul. The soul that he had, because he know we fear suffering. He knows flesh and suffering not compatible. You know, he knows that. And somebody come and say, if you can take it, you can make it. That's true. You can take it, you can make it. There's a certain point where Lucifer is gonna say, I don't know about this one. Trust me, he said that many times. He said that about Jesus Christ. I don't know about this one. He said that. So if he said that to Jesus Christ, he can say the same to you. If you follow Jesus Christ and God, principles and then laws. Without further ado, I would like to thank you for listening into my presentations about the exodus of religions. I brought the pro, the con, but mostly the common denominator of that stratified adjudications that we all had. I proved to you that all religions are pretty much similar, complementary in the eternal platforms of creation and living journeys, as well as Christianity in terms of karma, transitions, transmigrations, and sin reductions, and build-up of Dharma, positive credit into the next folder, into our eternal journey to perfections, for eternal perfections, to reach divinity, close to God, the way He programmed it. And it goes from the belief of Buddhism to Hinduism to Judaism, Islam to Christianity, which is like the master whole of everything, because it is the truth up that will come later on when Christ returns to take the kingdom that was proposed to him by Lucifer during his 40-day desert in during his time before he died. That kingdom will be real, like Lucifer proposed to him. And it will be at the same place where Lucifer proposed to him, which was downtown Jerusalem, the way he did. But you don't have to wait for it. What you can do is to do your best, because if you die today, you will have the judgment of this specific soul in this specific journey. And that soul will be graded. Either you go to hell, either you go to heaven. That's your grade. You have done well into your eternal journey through perfection. And before you reach the end of that journey, you're going to go to many souls. Many souls. Some of them, some manage, I don't know. I'm not God to know that one person maybe have done all those journey and all his soul went to heavens. Some of us, some of our soul will go to heaven. Some of our soul will going to be in hell. Some of our soul will be in heaven. But every single soul that derive from that spiritual DNA are independent. You don't feel it. The way God designed it, higher technology. You don't feel it. You just go forward. But the good thing He made is that every single generation can enjoy the family and certain generation, a certain extent. You can enjoy it and be happy. When you go to heaven, you see the people of the generation in which you have existed in that specific journey. And you discover all the other previous generation in which you have existed, and even future, because you will be already in that dimension. You can see the past, the present, and the future. Without further ado, thank you very much. You can visit my website www.njohmedfounded, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, G+, and what else? I want to say, MySpace, and many other social media that are there. You find my name, you go Google, type it, you find the Confit Global Consulting for medical, pharmaceutical, and innovative technology. You can shoot me an email. You can shoot me an email. You can, or message, and then we go from there for everyone. It's open, like I said. I'm open to conversate with people. I have my choice, like everybody, to make a choice to choose a female partner. I have made my choice based on circumstances that are specific into my life, and there's no adjudications. Everybody have his standards, but it's mostly based on everybody's circumstances in life. So it's not a speeding marathons. It's a long-term marathon. That's what I can say, depending on what the person is looking for, based on the circumstances and what he's looking for. Alright, so I would like to hear from you. And you got to forge your relationship with God. You got to pray. Disregard the million you have, disregard the position you have, the power you have. You pray, humble yourself, and God will be with you. Thank you very much, and have a blessed Sunday and blessed week. Alright? Good heart, compassion, and love to everyone.